Hi there, traders. This is Brad Gilbert with the FX Market Insight for the 14th of January. All right, now as we get further into the year, second week of the year really, the full liquidity coming back into the market, we should start to see some sort of stability across all major pairs, and the market really connects with the fundamental aspect. Now, just having a look at where last week finished off, what you want to do is really have a close look at where we left last week. Now, we had some key numbers out. Just have a look at the US numbers. Pretty much, it's not going to help too much there. As you can see, with the forecast and the actual release, pretty much, well, they are as expected, right? So that was a really big event, primarily because inflation is such a key component for any central bank, and could have, any sort of major variance there could have given us a bias on the US dollar, positive or negative. Now, with that neutral stance, it's really defused the US dollar and has it back trading sideways. Look at the dollar index here. It's just poking above that short-term resistance line. I mean, it has got 2 or 3 touches on it, but it's just really disappointing because it really does defuse the whole situation. Just have a look here. I mean, this is the offshore yuan. Now, there's got to be some, in my experience, the levels of corruption and stuff in China and the financial markets in particular, there must be some truth to a good deal coming out for China. I mean, it's dropped from 6.86 sort of last week down here to 6. Let me just clear that up. 6.7. You can just see it's dropped another couple of 100 points here. So I'm always looking around to see what's going on with China. I know the Chinese government are trying to reduce the requirements, liquidity requirements for the banks to get some liquidity in the markets. Those inflation numbers we had last week were really dire, so that may be the case of what's going on or about to be released. But dollar China heading lower. That's really disconnected from the Aussie and Kiwi, and I'll show you that in a second. Just look at where the global equities finished, pretty much flat. Dow Jones minus 0.02 and the NASDAQ minus 0.3. Asian equities at this point, well, there's not much to go by because it is a Japanese holiday today, bank holiday. And when Japan's on holidays on Mondays, it usually means the whole market is extremely quiet. Okay, that's for any sort of Asian session. But the start of the week is a key part to that. One other thing, just before I flick over to the major charts, let me just give you a look here at some of the numbers, which goes to show what makes sense and what doesn't. Now, sterling is 140 points higher. The GDP estimate, okay, slightly, if you look at the numbers here, 0.2 versus 0.1, just slightly stronger, and year on year, like 0.1. But if you look at the rest of the numbers on sterling, okay, they're actually pretty crap, right? Or really crap. Manufacturing output, which is a key number, minus 0.3 versus 0.3 expected. So it's not quite outside the range of the forecast, but it's pretty close to it. And that's a pretty negative number. In usual market conditions, you probably see sterling, come off at least 50 points. As it is, it's actually rallied. Now, let me just bring you across to these charts. This is where, you really want to start the week, start piecing together your actual analysis. So just having a look here, the Aussie, I mean, you can't deny it is slowly going up, but this thing to me, it's very close to sideways. You'd think with that move in China, where China's rallying, the Aussie would be rallying 50, 60, 100 points. That's what was happening 3 to 6 months ago with the correlation. It's really broken down at the moment. So I wouldn't be getting long Aussie. There's no technical levels here either. So it's a real bit of a question mark on the Aussie. Kiwi has got much better shape, okay, at this point. It isn't really going anywhere, but at the same time, it's got a nice shape and a nice support trend line to potentially work with, whether we're looking to buy or sell, but we just don't have any overall direction at this point. Okay, now, dollar yen, this is from Friday's charts. You can just see how it's just cruised sideways straight through that sort of short-term resistance line. It's pretty crap. I mean, you got that sort of big ditch-out level of around the 2nd or 3rd of January, but I'll show you where I'm going to adjust the charts in a second. Also, Euro, it's finally sort of given up its ghost and it's back to that sort of sideways market. A little breach down there on the trend line. And now this is the move up here on sterling. This is all Brexit orientated. And I'll show you the news in a second. It's pretty hard to work out. I mean, I've got, funnily enough, on the analysis, and you've got to be a little bit objective with that. Short term and sort of medium term, sterling is starting to break higher, right? So technically I'm mildly bullish. As far as the geopolitical situation with Brexit is concerned, it could go anywhere. There's talk about another referendum and rolling back out the whole thing and just staying in the EU. There's a whole heap of weird news. And actually that's generated by the media. They love selling stuff, so you'll see a lot more of that as we go forward. There is supposed to be a Brexit deal vote Tuesday. We'll have to wait and see if that comes about. Now, dollar CAD has been just cruising to the downside, very little trend lines. It's now trading sideways, and if anything, just slowly climbing as oil. It's at 51 bucks, but it was at 53. It's just dropped back a couple of bucks, and that's so oil is firmly in control with dollar CAD at this point. So if you are trading dollar CAD, make sure you're watching what's happening with oil. So with the charts at this point, there's nothing to do with the Aussie at this stage. Kiwi is pretty much where it needs to be. If anything, I'm sort of just adjusting my short-term chart here on dollar yen. As you can see, it's just really trading sideways. So I've drawn that in there, but I'm not going to give it too much credibility at this stage. Euro, well, it's just a matter of we've got that new low, so I'm just going to adjust the support line. And if anything, we've got, now that we've hit that high, we've got a nice resistance line there coming in around 115.20. So that gives us a lot more shape on euro to trade. Now, with sterling bouncing as well, I'm going to draw my support line. If anything, I'm going to leave that old resistance line there for the moment so I know where the retracement is. And dollar CAD pretty much exactly the way it is. Now, let me just come across here to give you a look at the news. I mean, sometimes the news it's good when it's reporting on valid information. When it's not, it's a bit of a waste of time. So ahead of the vote, here's Theresa May. She's doing a hell of a job, I think. But I'm surprised she survived the number of, re-votes against her. So she's sort of saying catastrophic to sterling if they halt Brexit. Now, the Bank of England Governor, Mark Carney, he said that late last year, said if you don't go through with this, it's going to be an absolute mess, as in recession worse than the Depression. Okay, try and work that one out. And then, so that's pretty much it. So there's a lot of fear campaigns going to be coming out with Brexit, and that's why sterling is going to be pretty much an untradeable commodity at this stage. And that's, you'll see lots of news about that. As far as the big dollar goes, okay, the news services here, Metastock, dollar steady, Aussie Kiwi lower on profit taking. Well, I can't see Aussie and Kiwi lower. I don't know where that was, but once again, the articles there are pretty crap. Then you got the Canadian dollar weakens with oil, but okay, so but not just second straight weekly gain. So what we're reading here is a lot of weird, like it's no factual stuff. What we're looking for is facts about numbers and central banks. All we're getting is opinionated articles. One rises again on trade talk, optimism on track for the best week since 2005. That's the big thing for me. So I'm looking at that going, well, you know what? It's hard to work out sometimes what's going on with the markets. But when you look at a situation and you see a currency move, and a dodgy one at best, right? This, to me, looks like China are going to get a great deal here because this thing is rattling to the downside, which means the yuan is appreciating. So I would say this. If you looked into who was buying that, would start with the government officials and leak down through friends and family. So to me, that's a sure sign that we are going to get a deal. Once again, the Aussie and Kiwi aren't high, so that's a little bit of a misnomer as well. Now, if I just come back into the MyFX Trading Hub, I just want to give you a bit of a look here around what's going on in it. Especially on Mondays, you need to get yourself prepared, not only just for Monday's trading, which is generally nothing's really happening, but what's coming out through the week. Now, it's a Japanese holiday today. I already mentioned that. When Japan is on holidays, the Asian session is extremely quiet, and today no different. It is Monday, so it's actually even more quiet, with Mondays usually being quite quiet as well. So market's back at full liquidity. So trading conditions are actually quite good. We just don't have any specific direction here on the major pairs. Dollar CAD, yep, it's drifting lower. It's now trading sideways short term, but overall still sort of heading lower with oil. Sterling, yep, you can't deny on the charts it's moving higher, right? But the geopolitical situation around that is just so messy that it's very hard to sort of say jump in and go, hey, let's get long sterling because it's going up. It doesn't really sort of work like that. Let's have a look where the what you want to do on Mondays as well is plan your week. Right, Tuesday. What's coming out? Well, we've got this sterling Brexit Parliament vote. Now, that could come out at any day. I would expect during the afternoon in the UK, we might get some sort of answer there. They could come out and do it pretty quick. As Theresa May was saying, she expects Parliament to knock it back. But we'll see how that goes. That's obviously going to make sterling extremely loose. The good thing is we have a good US number coming out at the start of the week, producer price index, so another inflationary number. Once again, we're looking for something to give us some sort of direction on the US dollar at this stage. Now, the dollar has been, after last week's CPI numbers, completely diffused. It's just trading sideways. So what that means is the US dollar direction will come from other currency pairs like sterling and euro, which are a major component of the US dollar index basket. Also, during this week, we do have a number of central bankers speaking. Draghi's piping up, as well as Carney on Wednesday. We've got Kuroda speaking at the G20 on, I think that's Thursday. So don't forget, there's a G20 Thursday, Friday. We'll start to get some loose comments out of that, but I don't expect anything much. The whole issue globally at this point is pretty much about Trump and about these tariffs he's applying to China and everyone else. So that's going to be the major point that we're looking at. If you're looking at real core numbers, and unfortunately it's not going to work for this time around, is the CPI numbers, right? These are top shelf, extremely high impacting numbers. But with sterling and the Brexit vote, is it going to come into play? It's very hard to say. I don't think it will have too much of an impact. If you go back to Friday's numbers, like I showed you before, the manufacturing production numbers, hugely weak. You'd think sterling would have crapped out, and it sort of did move back a bit, but then it's sort of the geopolitical news took over. It's hard to say. It might be a short-term opportunity, but that's about it. And then as you get into later in the week, we've got the Philly Fed Manufacturing Index and UK retail sales. Some more numbers to really have a good old look at what's going on. The main parts here too, you want to have a good look. We're going to wait until Friday, but CAD CPI numbers are going to be pretty important at the moment because CAD's sort of just drifting around with oil. It'd be good to get some fundamental releases to give that a bit of a boost. And then last but not least, at the end of the week, we've got the University of Michigan consumer sentiment numbers, a very good historical number on consumer sentiment. So that's why that's in there as well. Now, as far as the next best trades go, it's been pretty slim pickings. There was a couple of opportunities last week. I just didn't get a chance to update the site, but we'll get on top of that this week. There's also a few updates coming with the MyFX trading up in this gap. There will be the MyCapMan capital management system popping in there shortly, hopefully over the course of the week or not too long after that. So that's pretty much it, guys. As far as Monday goes, there's nothing to do, right? To me, unfortunately, the whole situation is this is where you've got to be patient. The major currency pair outlook, okay, this is like, it can't get more sideways than what we have at the moment. If you click into these numbers or click on the heading or the arrow there, you'll go into the detailed analysis of each pair. At the moment, most of these pairs are just trading sideways. They're waiting for information fundamentally from the central banks or the various geopolitical issues, which are still sort of simmering in the background. The main one being the US-China trade deal. You've got to expect Trump to knock this on the head at least once or twice, just for kicks. And then we'll see the dollar yuan sort of whip about the place. But until then, all we can do is sit tight and wait and watch. As I mentioned, you've got the yuan here sort of moving to the downside. That's probably the thing to watch at the moment. But the dollar index, this is a bit of an indication of what the majors are doing. It's just trading sideways. The dollar isn't really going anywhere. And the other major pairs, well, to me, there's not a lot to do just at the moment. I think, it's funny what a difference a day can make. We may get some inspiration. Euro is starting to shape up really nice technically. Kiwi's got a nice support line. I'd say dollar yen is trading sideways. I'm not looking at that. Bit of a question mark over sterling. And I'm not too enthused about dollar CAD at this stage, or the Aussie. So really, to me, technically, Kiwi and Euro are the pairs to be looking at with a close eye on the fundamental releases. All right, guys, that's it from me. Have a good trade day. Have a good week. If you have any questions, jump in the 247 trade zone and ask us any questions in there. All right, guys, have a good one. We'll catch you later on. Cheerio.